Hey guys, I'm going to work the text example problem that is very close to the 10.4.11 on the homework. And so we've got Landon who wants to borrow money to start his own business. This is the amount of money that he needs to purchase the tools. And he's going to finance, which of course we know means borrow money and then pay it back. And he's going to take 60 months to pay it back. And APR stands for annual percentage rate. And the rate at which he's going to borrow it is 6%. So a lot of people who deal with the finances and, actuaries and people like that have actually made what we call APR tables in order to help us, because it's some pretty, in-depth math in a lot of cases. So this table, if we click on the blue icon here, is actually going to help us figure out exactly how much interest Landon is going to pay based on the circumstances of his loan. So you'll notice the two circumstances that are listed here across the top is the annual percentage rate. His percentage rate is 6%. And then the number of payments is also listed. Of course, this is a smaller view of the much bigger APR table. It's only the part that's relevant to us. And we know that he is paying it back in 60 months. So that means the number of payments is going to be 60, and he is borrowing it at a 6% rate. So we need to look for the point of intersection where those two parts of the table collide right here, and we see $16. And what this tells us is that for every $100 that you borrow, you have to pay back $16 at a 6% rate if you're paying it back over the course of 60 months. So you can decide for yourself, that's a pretty hefty amount of money for, every $100 that you borrow, you got to pay back 116. You can argue that that's a lot. So now that we know how much that is going to be, because that's the first step, you have to know exactly how much money he's going to have to pay back for every $100 that he borrows. So I'm going to write this over to the side. Every $100 that he borrowed, he has to pay back that $100, of course, plus $16 for borrowing it in the first place. So the first step is to figure out how much is he going to end up paying overall if he has to pay $16 for every $100. So we need to figure out how many sets of $100 are in there, right? So if he's borrowing $4,375, we're going to divide that by $100. So that means it's 43.75. So 43.75 sets of $16 is what he's going to have to pay back. Because if you take the total that he borrowed, divide it by the $100, you get 43.75. So to figure out how much money he's actually going to have to pay back at the end of the day, like just what the interest is, okay? We're not talking about the actual money we've paid back yet. So if he is borrowing 43.75 sets of $16, if you think about it that way, if you take the money he borrowed, divide it by 100, that's 43.75. So he owes $16 43.75 times, if that makes sense. So if you multiply that together, that means he is going to owe a total of $700. So this is what we call the finance charge. That is how much he's actually going to have to pay back on top of what he borrowed in the first place. So we've just answered part A. We've determined what his finance charge is. Well, that's $700. So then the second thing we need to do in part B is determine what his monthly payment is going to actually be. So to figure out the monthly payment, of course, you have to take the initial amount of money that he borrowed, because obviously you're going to have to pay that back, right? Bank's not going to let you off the hook. So you got to pay the $4,375 he borrowed in the first place, plus the $700 that he has as a finance charge. I'm going to get rid of this for a minute so I got a little more room to write. So that means he's going to end up paying the bank a total of $5,075 once you factor in what he borrowed plus the finance charge. So if he's paying that back over the course of 60 months, and it's asking us to find his monthly payment, we will take that $5,075 and we will divide it by 60. So if we do 5,075 divided by 60, that gives us 84.58, and then we get a 3 that just repeats and repeats and repeats, at least in my calculator. So remember, when you're rounding money, you round to the second decimal place because that helps dollars and cents, right? So if we've got a 3 here, remember the old rule for rounding, that if this number, we're actually rounding the second decimal place, so we're rounding the 8. We need to decide whether to round the 8 up to 9 or to leave it as an 8. If the number to the right is 5 or smaller, then you just keep it the same. If it's 5 or bigger, you round it up. So because this number is a 3, that means that we keep the 84.58 the same. So our final total, remember the little squiggly equal sign that I'm drawing here means approximately. So his payment is going to be $84.58. So right here is what his final monthly payment is going to be. So we've just answered part B of the problem.